Imagine the frost crunching under your heavy work boots at dawn. You walk out to the coop, coffee in hand, fully expecting to see your flock scratching in the dirt. Instead, you see a scattering of feathers, a heavy streak of red on the wooden ramp, and a $300 smart appliance door jammed exactly halfway up its custom tracks. You paid a massive premium for a system loaded with Wi-Fi integration, real-time push notifications, and a sleek, waterproof touchscreen. But the proprietary micromotor choked on a single frozen clump of mud at 2 in the morning. Now you are entirely out your best laying hens, and your smartphone is buzzing in your pocket with a cheerful automated server error notification. You are bleeding cash for a mandatory monthly app subscription that essentially financed a raccoon feeding frenzy. The entire outdoor homestead tech industry has aggressively abandoned building durable farm tools, morphing instead into a digital extortion ring designed to extract capital from your bank account every 30 days. We are going to expose the microscopic gear tooth flaw melting down inside these premium units. We will break down the proprietary power supply hustle engineered to force an endless, expensive replacement cycle. And we are going to lay out the exact mechanical blueprint you need to install a heavy metal, subscription-free barricade that outlives the building it is literally bolted to. The industry has successfully engineered what I call the Cloud-Tethered Death Trap. Look at the glossy, hyper-stylized packaging sitting on the feed store shelf. They sell you a frictionless digital lifestyle rather than a physical tool. You are mesmerized by a high-definition app interface that tracks opening times down to the millisecond, boasts about advanced weather API integration, and displays vibrant green battery health bars on your tablet. It looks like a sleek, watertight piece of modern aerospace engineering meant to protect your investment. But here is where the math gets brutal. Pop the tamper-proof security screws off the back panel of one of these premium smart units and look directly at the primary lifting mechanism. You will not find hardened steel or brass. You will see a tiny, brittle nylon drive gear mated to a brushed hobby-grade motor no bigger than your thumb. Notice the utter lack of thermal shielding and the paper-thin plastic housing protecting the logic board. Moisture creeps into that unsealed motor housing during a heavy, driving autumn rain. Overnight, the ambient temperature plummets below freezing. That microscopic condensation freezes solid inside the narrow plastic gear tracks, instantly locking the mechanical assembly in place. At the exact moment of dawn, the fragile motherboard commands the electric motor to fire. The motor surges, pulling maximum electrical amperage from the battery, but the frozen nylon gear refuses to yield an inch. The torque spikes violently. The brittle plastic teeth shear off into a pile of useless white powder, and the microscopic traces on the circuit board literally fry themselves trying to push power into a dead short. The system cannibalizes itself by breakfast. You step outside, and you will immediately smell the acrid, dark odor of burnt ozone and melting epoxy radiating from the shattered control box. The door is dead in its tracks, hanging limp, offering zero physical resistance to the environment or passing predators. You just vaporized hundreds of dollars on a digital paperweight that lacks the physical strength of a cheap jacket zipper. Any field tech walking onto a homestead knows to look for the scrap pile of dead smart doors behind the barn. We stopped buying tools and started renting liabilities. Let me show you how they rigged the game. Look at the power bays on the leading luxury models that dominate the search results. Notice how they actively reject standard universal battery sizes. They do not accept basic Deblois cells or simple, off-the-shelf 12-volt tractor batteries. They force you into using a proprietary custom-molded lithium pack encased in a tamper-proof plastic shell with a unique pin layout. Lithium chemistry absolutely hates extreme environmental swings. Out in the blistering summer sun, the chemical cells bake and rapidly degrade. In the brutal winter chill, the chemical reaction slows to a crawl and the voltage drops off a cliff. That custom-molded battery pack loses its ability to hold a sustained, reliable charge after a single, punishing outdoor season. Because the fragile motherboard is governed by internal DRM chips, the proprietary charging circuit refuses to acknowledge any battery reporting below absolute peak voltage. The logic board triggers a hard digital lockout to protect the proprietary software. The battery becomes the executioner. The mechanical failure is painfully predictable. You will hear the agonizing, rapid-fire rhythmic clicking of a safety relay desperately trying to engage. But the dying battery simply cannot deliver the necessary burst of operating amps to lift the plastic curtain. The door stutters violently, drops heavily on its ungreased track, and permanently traps your birds out in the dark at exactly the wrong time of day. You are looking at an immediate replacement cost deep into the high double digits, plus expedited shipping just to turn the machine back on. And inevitably, they change the physical shape of the plastic connector plug every 2 years, rendering your entire power setup obsolete. This is the point where the illusion shatters. You are locked permanently inside the cloud-tethered death trap. Here is the ultimate corporate hustle. The modern hardware extraction process operates as a perfectly legal step-by-step shakedown. Step 1. The required smartphone app initiates a mandatory firmware update that demands a rock-solid T. Uninterrupted wireless signal out in the middle of your muddy pasture. Step 2. The Wi-Fi inevitably drops out halfway through the download, corrupting the digital controller board and forcing the mechanical door into a permanent, unyielding error state. Step 3. The manufacturer's customer service portal refuses to unlock the unit until you pay a mandatory remote diagnostic fee to reset a physical object that you physically hold in your hands. Step 4. You are officially forced onto a monthly digital subscription tier just to retain the fundamental open and close functionality that you paid for in cash on day one. The engineering truth hides in plain sight. Why are we putting fragile motherboards in the mud? Look at the $60 unapologetically dumb solar Coop door. It is a massive, unforgiving slab of raw, heavy-gauge aluminum sliding on a rigid, overbuilt metal track. There is no delicate capacitive touchscreen. There is no internal wireless antenna actively searching for a distant router. It has zero parasitic power draw from background apps trying to ping a server on the other side of the planet. Watch the physics dominate the environment. The lifting mechanism is a direct drive, absolutely unkillable metal worm gear. Put your ear near the housing when it operates. You will hear the deep, satisfying, low-pitched mechanical grind of hardened steel teeth violently biting into steel. It does not care about early frost. It does not care about router dropouts or firmware glitches. It relies entirely on a prehistoric analog photocell light sensor coated in thick, weatherproofing resin. When the sun physically crests the horizon, photons hit that primitive sensor. A basic high-voltage relay aggressively snaps shut, and the heavy aluminum plate cranks upward without asking for digital permission. When the sun drops behind the trees, the electrical circuit breaks. Gravity takes over, pulling the heavy metal curtain downward until it slams securely into the lower locking channel with a visceral, protective thud that rattles the wooden frame. Gravity never requires a software patch. We run the cheapest, heaviest light sensor units on our own setups because we hate doing unpaid maintenance. They spent an absolute fortune in targeted marketing to convince you that a reliable farm barricade needed an active server rack in California to function properly. This $60 unit runs on a generic, universally available, $10 battery that is constantly trickle-charged by a thick, dumb piece of solar film. It functions seamlessly for a decade, specifically because there is absolutely nothing complex enough inside the housing to break down, short out, or require a paid update. You have completely bypassed the cloud-tethered death trap. The counter strategy is brutally simple. Find a thick, raw aluminum frame. Zero wireless connectivity built in. Basic photocell light sensors only. Standard over-the-counter battery formats. Direct drive metal worm gears. Physical limit switches you can see. Stop funding the engineered obsolescence of your own backyard. Reject the shiny plastic screens and demand brutal, heavy metal simplicity. When you strip away the digital bloat and refuse to connect your physical property to a network, you starve the subscription model and take back permanent control of your hardware. Hit subscribe if you are ready to tear down the appliance monopolies and protect your property with actual physical engineering. Let the Cloud-Tethered Death Trap rust on the shelf while your analog metal does the real work.